Welcome guys, so today we're going to be going over object-oriented programming in C++. So for this particular project, let's say for instance you get hired by an employer and the employer asks you to keep track of all its employees. They want you to keep track of their full name, their position, and their ID number. So let's go ahead and write the program. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is create a class employee. So now within this class, you're going to have three variables. One to store the full name, the other is to store their position, and the other one is to store in their ID. And now you're going to want to make sure you put this under public because we want to access these variables within our main program. So let's go ahead and write our first object. So we are creating our first object. It's called emp1. You have to do this with the class name employee. Then the object name, you can name it to whatever you want to name it as. But now we're going to have to store the name for emp1. So in order to do this, we put the object name first, then dot, and then full name. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we have the name stored Kev and full name for emp1. So now we're going to have to write the position and the ID. Yeah, this is all made up. This is just an example for this video. So for emp1 full name, we put Kev. And for the position, he's a programmer, and his ID is 2323. So we created our first object. Now we want to display this object's info on the console. So how do we do this? So we use the cout method. So now let's print out his first name, his position, and his ID number. So we're going to change this to position. And this one too. Alright, so here we have him. So this should print out all emp1 info onto the console. So let's run the program. And as you can see, emp1's info has been printed onto the console. His name is Kev, the position is programmer, and the ID is 2323. So it worked. So this is an object in object-oriented programming. But what if you we want to make it easier to create an object instead of writing this out one by one. So we're going to use something called a constructor. Okay, so in order to create a constructor, we're going to have to give it the same name as the class that it belongs to. So we're going to call it employee. Now this constructor is going to contain 3 parameters. One to store the name, the other one is for the position, and the other one is for the ID. So let's write this up. Alright, so now we gotta set these parameters to the variables that we created earlier. Okay, so we made our constructor already. So now let's head down here. As you can see, we get an error already. So let's use our constructor and put this info inside our constructor. So let's comment this out. And let's go here. They're going to use the same object that we created earlier. So now put parentheses. And his ID was 2323. And so now we can still use the same display info that we have down here. So let's run the program. As you can see, we got the same results again. We did this by using the constructor. So instead of writing line by line, we could use the constructor to make our lives a little bit more easier. Okay, so the next step we're going to want to do is we want to create a method within inside the employee class. This method is going to display the info on the object. So instead of writing this out line by line, we're going to create a method to make it a little bit more easier. Okay, so let's go up here. We're going to call this method display info. We're going to copy all of this and we're going to put it inside the method. We're going to get rid of the object. So it's going to be full name, position, and ID. Okay, so we created the method. So now we can go down here, we can get rid of this. So now we can just type emp1 dot display info. And we should get the same results in the console. Yes, we did get the same results. So this is a lot more cleaner, a lot more easier. because once you set the method, you could use it again over and over. So if you create another object, you could use the same constructor, and then you could use the same method to display the info. Alright guys, so that's pretty much about it for this video. This is just the basics of object-oriented programming, and try to add more to this project and let me know in the comments down below what else you added. If you want an idea, try to add some user input into the program, where you take the user input and then you sort it into the parameters and then display the info or something like that. So I'll try to make another video more in detail about object-oriented programming, where we get into polymorphism and inheritance, but that will be for another separate video. So thank you guys for tuning in, and if you find this video helpful, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.